The FBI confirms to Fox it is investigating an apparent cyber breach of Dow Jones. Welcome to Risk and Reward. I'm Deirdre Bolton. Sources are saying a group of Russian hackers infiltrated the servers of Dow Jones and several other publications. Fox Business' Peter Barnes with me now with the latest. So, Peter, this probe seemed to start about a year ago?
Yes, and it was done with the help of a cybersecurity firm, according to Dow Jones, which disclosed this hack attack last week into its systems. Deirdre, accessing contact information for current and former subscribers, apparently to send them fraudulent solicitations. Now, this data breach potentially also accessed payment information, credit card information, but for fewer than 3,500 individuals, Dow Jones said last week. It is, of course, a unit of News Corporation and the parent company of the Wall Street Journal. A company investigation says that these hacks took place between August 2012 and July 2015. And as you mentioned, a well-placed cybersecurity intelligence source tells Fox News that the breach bears similarities to recent hacks that analysts say are coming from Russian cyber militias sympathetic to the regime of Vladimir Putin. But the source did not attribute this hack directly to the Russian government. As this source puts it, quote, these Russian cyber militias have been vigorously targeting the financial sector. Now, in a statement that Dow Jones sent me just a few minutes ago, the company says, quote, to the best of our knowledge, we have received no information from the authorities about any such alleged matter, and we are looking into whether there is any truth whatsoever to this report by a competitor news organization. Of course, that would be Bloomberg. Deirdre, back to you.
Peter, thank you so much. Peter Barnes with us there with those salient details from D.C. Well, if all proves to be true about this recent hack, as Peter was just mentioning, it bears similarities to another insider trading hacking case brought by the Department of Justice in August. Now, at that point, 9 individuals were charged with infiltrating 3 different newswire companies and trading on stolen information. According to the Department of Justice, 32 traders and hackers raked in roughly $100 million in illegal profits. Market guru Scott Martin, cybersecurity expert Morgan Wright, with me now by phone. Scott is here. Morgan on the phone. Morgan, first and foremost, how can law enforcement keep pace with cyber criminals?
Well, Deirdre, this is whack-a-mole. I mean, it is extremely difficult. I wrote 2 chapters in a book called the 4th edition Computer Security Handbook, and in that I talked about the challenges of law enforcement investigating in other countries, places where we don't have what's called mutual legal assistance treaties. And I can tell you right now, the Russians are not going to help us. They are not our friends. They wouldn't give us Snowden. They won't cooperate on criminal matters. So they can trace it back to a certain point, but our ability to investigate is going to stop probably at the Russian border.
And of course, unfortunately, the motivation is so high. I mean, I was looking through Dow Jones' annual report. One service, and Morgan, I'm going to read you these stats, provides global business content to more than 1 million active users, but more than 4,000 sources are made available. So you could get M&A information, you could get government statistics. I mean, this provides motivation.
This is like, the problem they have, it's even worse than the needle in the haystack. This is trying to find a particular color grain of sand in a sea of sand. I feel sorry for the folks. I used to teach computer crime investigation, actually, to the FBI. This is one of those things to where it's spaghetti. They're going to spend, years unraveling this thing, and by the time they get to it, many of the people who have perpetrated this are going to spend the money and they're going to be gone.
Scott, I want to bring you in because if we think that the market is rigged, and people have been saying that for years for many different reasons, what is the average investor to do if somebody else actually has insider information?
Well, that's the unfortunate thing, I think, Deirdre, is this information that some of these hackers are getting these days is certainly becoming more and more important. And as you pointed out, more and more profitable. I mean, $100 million in profits isn't exactly something to sneeze at. But if you're sitting at home and you look at some of the results of these hacks and how they've affected the markets, overall, there's been some impact for a day or two, maybe a week, but the market does tend to return to normal. So if you stay with that balanced portfolio, not necessarily look away, but be diligent on the companies that you're owning and why you own them, I think you can survive it.
All right. So, Scott, stay with me. Thank you very much, Morgan. Always glad to have you on all things cyber.